let's be honest, we all mess up at communication all day, every day, every shift, every single time we don't do that well. And
Yes.
as a profession, as a whole, we suck at training, and especially when it comes to communication. When a practice really starts to turn a corner is when they intentionally build training into their everyday schedules, and not just for their technical training, but for their people skills, or what I like to call their peopling. When they start to say, we're going to make it a priority no matter what. We're going to actually train on essential skills or soft skills, maybe some personality assessments, or how to train on communication, or how to do peopling. I really, really start to see how practices will have this aha moment of where the magic happens, where we start to see higher employee engagement and retention and better client service and increased profitability.
So the big question is this: how do veterinarians like you, who live demanding lives,
who never seem to have enough time, able to achieve balance and take control of your finances with confidence?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
We are Florida Veterinary Advisors, and this is the Smarter Vet Podcast.
Hi, Smarter Vet. Welcome back to the Smarter Vet Financial Podcast. This is your co-host, Tom Seeko. I'm also co-founder of Florida Veterinary Advisors, a national personal and business financial planning firm that works with veterinarians, veterinary teams, and practice owners. And we're here to provide a different way of thinking to make financial decisions easy so you can spend time doing other things that you love. If you're a first-time listener to the show, we're glad to have you here. If you've been one of our avid listeners for the many years we've been around, we're glad to have you back. And if you want to nerd out on a lot of other great things, visit our website at flvetadvisors.com, where we've got master classes, CEs, assessments. You can find where you can buy our book, everything through our website. So if you're like, I want to dive deeper into these things, we actually started doing some YouTube shorties as well. So you can learn a bunch of different things on YouTube too. I'm excited to have I would say she's become one of my dear friends over the years. She was on the show a few years back, and I'm glad to have her back again so we can have a fun conversation and maybe entertain all of you here today and provide you something insightful to walk away with. Her name is Andrea Crabtree. She is the consultant and owner of Fur Paws Consulting. She told me not to age her in any form here, so she's been in the industry for quite some time. And she's done everything that you can imagine on the consulting side with practices. And Andrea, I'm so glad to have you back here with me again. It's going to be a great conversation.
Thanks, Tom. Now everybody knows I'm an old biddy now that you said that. I'm in my prime. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all it is. Age is just a number, right? Well,
That's
they
right.
have
Extra shoe size.
Biological age and chronological age. So, that's all that matters. We'll go by
right.
Biological. Hopefully it's better.
That's right. Right.
Amen. Well, could you give just a quick plug on yourself? Because I'm sure some people who do know you, if they have listened to the other episode, but could you just give a little backdrop on yourself and where you started in the industry, how you got to where you are? Because we'd love to hear it again myself.
Yeah, sure. I started off in the veterinary profession not knowing what the hell I wanted to do. I loved animals, grew up with animals, knew I wanted to work with animals, but I did not want to go to vet school. I was a young single mom. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to dive in and work in this profession. I very quickly climbed up the leadership ladder. So I became a practice manager relatively quickly and fell in love with our profession. I love pets and people. And so I could smash kind of the two of those up together. I'm an entrepreneur, kind of genetic makeup. So taking even the three of those and making a smash burger, and making those work for me and what I do. After about 10 years of being a practice manager, I realized that I could be helping not just one team, but helping several teams. So I became a consultant about halfway through my career. I'm a certified veterinary practice manager. There's about 1,000 of us in the United States. And relatively, there's 35,000 hospitals. So kind of do the numbers there. There's not near enough certified practice managers. I work with practices all over the country, and in a variety of capacity to whatever the practice might need: onboarding, offboarding, team development, practice managers, practice owners. I think managers have a robust role in the practice. So just depends on what a practice needs. I do a lot of HR, a lot of peopling, a lot of HR. And I love it. I also have a podcast, just like you and CJ. Do a lot of public speaking at the conferences all over. Love that. Dabble in some books and writing, which I absolutely hate. I feel like it's just pulling fingernails.
Well,
Not my
one thing
forte, but I do it.
I think you have missed out of here too is that you're a big horse lover. I mean,
I
that
am
was a like
staring at
50
my mare
horses,
as
right?
we speak. Yeah. Love, love, love. Being outside, gardening, hiking, riding horses. I have an Aussie that I take everywhere with me as well.
That's
So
cool.
anything that has to do with, yeah, my Aussie goes on trail with me when I ride. So anything I can do to be around pets, right? That's it. I
Mhm.
love them, all of them.
Well, being the Swiss Army knife is the way what the terminology I'm thinking right now for
Love that.
practice owners. Anything you need, just like, hey, I'll pop open the tool right now for you. But when you think about teams and management structures and trying to strengthen them, like what first piqued your interest or drew you to that?
I think recognizing that as much as I love pets, I love people. And so drawing that those two together and recognizing that I can help train people to be better at their jobs. In fact, my mantra is 100% of my job is making you better at your job. So, developing stronger teams and confident leaders, from practice managers to practice owners, helping them build practices that actually work for the team members that they have. That is my passion, and making sure that they are caring for the pets and their patients the best way that they possibly can. That just warms my heart and energizes me.
That's great. No, I love it. It's especially too. It's the veterinary industry as a whole. As with people, it seems like everyone is very compassionate for the most part, and
Hmm.
it's a very close knit industry to the degree to where
Hmm.
people really seem to care. Like that's what I've picked
Hmm.
up over the years, and it's awesome being able to work with veterinarians and teams and everything. So I
Yeah.
would agree with you. I'm more echoing on what you're saying here.
Yeah, every on my podcast, every single time I ask a guest, why a veterinary profession? And every single one of my guests answers the same way: because the people are amazing. They may work in another field, and then have switched over to veterinary medicine, or have clients in both, maybe dentistry and veterinary medicine, or just a variety of different field, but they will always come back to say the people in vet med are amazing. They're compassionate or empathetic, or, they're just amazing people. And I'm like, yeah, I know, my profession is awesome. I know, I picked it.
I mean, that's a big caveat of why I got into the veterinary
Yeah,
industry too. It's like I love the people, and it's
yeah,
so cool to have fellow people like yourself in the industry that we can sit here and just kind of talk about that all day about how we love people. It's great.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Thinking about hospitals, because even on my side, that I see there are a lot of struggles that happen in the hospitals, especially when it comes on like three core areas. It's around hiring, it's managing the culture, it's the communication side of things. Maybe we can call it like the three pillars or the three legs of the stool. And there often seems to be uh, operationally or HR stuff that people are trying to work through to figure this out, or maybe they don't have anything that's in place. And when you think about when you first walk into a scenario like that, what's one adjustment or improvement that you typically can offer or suggest that helps them improve that quickly? Or what's something you see very commonly that maybe is a thing that can be worked on, yet might maybe takes a little time to get it done?
Well, you kind of nailed it in the question, but I think that it kind of all ties back to communication. And, let's be honest, we all mess up at communication all day, every day, every shift. every single time, we don't do that well. And
Yes.
as a profession, as a whole, we suck at training. And especially when it comes to communication, we don't do training well, and then we really don't do communication training well.
Mm.
And when a practice really starts to turn a corner is when they intentionally build training into their everyday schedules, and not just for their technical training, but for their people skills, or what I like to call their peopling. When they start to say, we're going to make it a priority no matter what, to not just take the time to train for how to read a cytology or how to present a treatment plan, but we're going to
Mm.
actually train on essential skills or soft skills, but do some maybe some personality assessments, or how to train on communication, or how to do peopling. I really, really start to see how practices will have this aha moment of where the magic happens, right? Where we start to see higher employee engagement and retention and better client service and increased profitability. And maybe the most important thing of happy, healthy culture, right?
Mm.
And all of a sudden, we have these ripple out effects of everything else that the practice does. And all of a sudden, again, like, that's where the magic happens. So when we're really, really intentional about having training with purpose that's inclusive of communication and emotional intelligence, we really start to see dynamic practice. I'm going to say profitability, but not just money, but all, across the board profitability, profitable people, right? We're happy people. We're, profitable cultures, profitable practices. I'm using that just for you.
Yes. Profitable practices. Well, I think about the communication side of it all, where it's so valid that you bring that up, because communication, it seems that, and I'm sure if anyone who is listening to this, if you work for a hospital or if you are an owner, communication tends to be one of those things that, or expectations about communication, is a big void in a lot of businesses, even veterinary medicine. So then it's jumping into it and not having clear direction of what the expectations are around it, or how we go about doing these things. And then I think I've even seen on my end where it's like an owner will get upset because something is happening, but they never actually offer them the intentional training to provide them
Right.
the guidance. Or having one thing that we're working very diligently on our end is updating guidebooks and SOPs, or processes and procedures, so that there is like a standard that people can refer back to. So when they aren't following something, now they're
Mm-hmm.
actually getting to the part where, hey, look, now we can actually know what the expectation is, and if we
Mm-hmm.
aren't living to it, we all agreed to it, we can refer back to it and be like, this is what we all had talked about. And I'm sure some practices in your world you've seen, Andrea, have been, it's a train wreck, I would imagine. And then there's
That's
some
why
where
they
it's
hire
like
me.
yeah, or there's some that just need a little bit of a little bit of direction, because they're trying to do it. But the ones that are, like, let's say that they don't have anything, it really hasn't. It's been like kind of an undertone that never has really been discussed. What's like a quick thing that you've noticed that, like, hey, if we just start focusing on this one thing, I know it's probably more complex than that, but if they were to just try to shift their mindset or something, like, how would they really go about doing that?
One thing. Wow. Let me dial it into one thing. Um, I'm going to circle back to communication, and I'll break it down into a little bit more simple communication. And it would probably be into some training. And if you want to dial it down, even a little bit more simple than that, is say, pick one area where you really feel there's a pain point at the practice, and say, let's pick some training that we're going to do today. And if it's where we don't have some training with let's say even how we consistently answer the phone, then everybody's going to learn how to consistently answer the phone together the same way across the board. I don't care what position you're in, everybody's going to answer the phone the same way. Like, hello, this is ABC Animal Hospital. Thank you for calling. My name is Andrea. How may I help you? Everybody's going to answer the phone the same way. So this week we're going to, work on training in this specific way. And then next week we're going to work on, again, pick one area where we're going to say, this is how we're going to do it, and be intentional so that we can pinky swear, promise that how we're going to start building training into our practice, and be intentional about how we're going to, focus on training and discussing it, because that helps. First of all, it helps us build communication on how we're going to agree and talk about where the area of focus is going to be this day, this week, this month, of how we're going to, go about saying we're going to answer the phone this way. So we're going to talk about it. So we're practicing that communication, and we're holding each other accountable about why you didn't answer the phone this way or why I didn't answer the phone this way. So when we're working on training, we're working on our communication in the midst of that, right? So it's kind of twofold. And hopefully we're working on some written communication, but because we're writing down how we're going to be answering that phone. So we're addressing communication in a variety of different ways just by doing one piece of training of how we're all going to answer the phone the same way.
It sounds tough doing that.
Oh, you would be surprised.
I'm surprised that is it easy or tough?
It's really hard. If I say, I want everybody to answer the phone this week at least one time this way, and here's your script, I can't even get them to do that. I'm like, it's just answering the phone, you guys.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like the accountability is a big part of it too, and providing feedback. Like, I find that, and that's probably where you would come and play a big part of this, right?
Yeah. The two things I see in practices that are the major things across the board in almost every practices are accountability and communication. The two biggest breakdowns are communication and accountability. Lack of accountability and a lack of communication in practices across the board. Any practice I go to, those are the two things I see.
Yeah, managing people is tough.
Peopling, it's rough.
Peopling, especially when you add all the different personalities and the different concerns and problems they have personally in their own lives. And gosh, it's a perfect storm some days where it's like there's not a dull moment.
Never. But that's what we love about veterinary medicine, right? That's what we love about. We don't have a desk job. Every day is a different task, different project. I think of them like puzzles. What puzzle am I going to be able to put together today?
Yes. No, I agree. That's cool. Yeah. So communication, it's incredible how important it is, but the lack of focus that actually people put on it. And, we can talk all day about this.
Yeah.
It's communication. It's hard. It's not easy to do, especially when it's like, if you're a person, I will say a lot of people in the industry are very, very introverted. They don't like conflict. They avoid conflict.
Run from conflict.
Yes. And then it's like, if we were all approaching this in a way to where like we loved on each other and we're all trying to get better each day and we approached it in that context, then I think conflict would be perceived differently, but sometimes it like almost feels like a personal attack on ourselves too, where sometimes I think we might need to stop taking things so personally, which is easier said than done. So, right?
Well, there's a few things that I say. First of all, I say Q-tips, right? Quit taking it personally. And the second thing I say is, why is it that every time you go into a conversation that you feel like it has to be confrontational? Why is it that when you go in to talk to somebody about why, they were late that day or why they can't do something right, why does it have to be confrontational? Why can't you go into a conversation and say, hey, can you tell me about what happened today? You didn't make it to your shift on time. Why does it have to be confrontational? Why do you have to have your hackles up and your write-up ready to go for them to sign? Why can't we just go in inquisitive? Why can't we just go in and ask them questions instead of like, you were late today, sign your write-up? Like, oh my gosh, why can't you treat your team like you would treat your patients and love on them and want to snuggle with them? And I mean, that's not HR appropriate, but like, think about it in that aspect of like, why are you sick, honey bear? I don't know. Like, why can't we just have a different lens instead of like going in with this, conflict all the time? Just think of it differently. I don't know. We don't.
And And sometimes, like, and this is something that just coming to my head as we're talking about this. Sometimes people are like, "Hey, I don't have a background in that, but this can be easily learned and can
Hmm.
be implemented." And it's just being able to do the hard thing at times and keeping people accountable. I will say, my accountability sometimes can come across as like, you're a jerk now. But when there's no when there's nothing documented too and expectations that are established
Then it's
and you
really
kind of
hard.
yo-yo,
Hmm.
then it can come across where it's like, you can seem kind of hypocritical or you can be somewhat of a
Hmm.
jerk there.
Hmm. But if you're
So yeah,
consistent, not fair, because what you think is fair is different than what I think is fair. But when you're
that's right.
consistent, be consistent. If you're consistent, do it the same way every single time, right? When you're consistent, then everybody knows what to expect. Outline your
That's
expectations and
right.
be consistent. Yeah.
Well, let's shift gears here for a second. And you have your podcast that you've been doing for quite some time, which is cool, the Positive Leadership Podcast. And then you started pulling together these veterinary executive leadership workshops. And I believe you have one coming up soon, which, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about what are they for? What can people expect? What is the goal for them?
So I am super excited about this leadership workshop. I'm super glad you asked. The executive leadership workshop is coming up in March. My team and I have been working on this project for, I don't know, we've been pouring our hearts into it for months, and it probably seems like years to my team. But um, I'm just like, it's like right after sugar. I'm super energized about it. Um, my company for Pause Consulting is hosting a 2-day workshop, March 7th and 8th. I almost forgot about the dates. How could I? March 7th and 8th. It's in person. It's designed for practice owners, practice managers, practice administrators. So, kind of that executive team type thing. We're bringing together 5 subject matter experts in 5 different key business areas: human resources, litigation protection, practice finance, let's see, compliance, tax strategies, and succession planning. I think I got them all. But what really sets the workshop apart, which I am really, really, really the most excited about, and I think is kind of really what is, again, setting us apart, making us different, is every practice in attendance is getting their own workbook. I'm a big proponent, and this is what I talk a lot about on my podcast, is actionable takeaways. So David and I always say, give us something that we can do tomorrow in our practice, right? So what's an actionable takeaway? So it's not a sit and listen CE that we're used to, going to at VMX coming up or Western. It's not a sit and listen. It's a real work, you know, built around the actual practice kind of thing. You take it back to your practice and work on it tomorrow, right? Use it immediately. We designed it to be a boutique style and very much so immersive event, highly engaged experience where leaders can come together that are like-minded and collaborate and connect with each other. And it's all happening in March in sunny California, right? Because most places are
Mhm.
not, except for you and me in Florida and me in California. Most places are not beautiful and sunny in March. So, beautiful sunny California March. It's very limited seating. So if people are not registered, I would say get your registration quick before it fills up. Super excited about that. It's the Veterinary Executive Leadership Workshop. We can find all the event details on my website on forpauseconsulting.com. Super excited. Yay.
Right. That's awesome.
Can't wait.
We'll make sure we'll include some of that in the show notes too. So if anyone is curious and wants to go take a look at it, and on the note of, what's one takeaway from what we've been talking about today, like what's something that you would say to wrap things up on that end?
I think kind of my push in life that I'm always saying to people is don't assume. Don't assume, get curious, right? Don't make, what assuming is, right? Making an ass out of you and me, but get curious, ask more questions, ask why, dig deeper, peel back that onion layer. I think too often as a practice manager, we're always worried about solving problems. And oftentimes, assigning blame or, quick to fire, quick to point fingers. And I don't think we take that time to understand or really get to the root of the problem. And I think that if we weren't so quick to react or to point fingers in that sense, and instead I challenge leaders to really slow that process down and dial that back and ask what happened. And I think we do that because we're busy, we're in a hurry, right? We have so many cases and we have so many things on our desk, and it's chop 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 all the time. But when we really say, hey, why did that behavior show up? What's really driving it beneath the surface? And when leaders take the time to slow down and ask the why, and again, peel that onion layer back, we're more effective and we're more thoughtful, and we are far more dynamic when we ask the why and really get to that, kind of the root of what's going on. And I think it's better for the team. It's better for the practice for sure. So ask why, and ask why 5 or 6 times. Don't stop at the first why, but really get to the root of what's going on and be inquisitive.
That's very insightful. I like that. Any other final thoughts you want to throw in here?
Check out my podcast, Positive Leadership.
Yes.
Check out the episode with CJ and Tom.
Love it. Andrea, I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Thanks for coming on my show, but thanks for having me on your show. How fun was this?
Yes. No, I always enjoy our conversations, and I hope everyone who is listening, you've at least taken away some other thought, even if it changed your paradigm of how you think about things. And if you found that this episode was insightful, you've enjoyed it, please share it with another person. Share it with 3 people if you could, or pick one of your favorites that you've listened to in the past so other people can enjoy the same great information that you've heard here today. And if you've not had a chance to rate or review us, please go to Apple or Spotify and rate us. It really does help be able to prop us up so other people can find our show and they can be able to enjoy the same information that you've gotten here today. This is Tom Seeko, wishing you a lifetime of financial success.
Don't forget to visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about upcoming race-approved CE webinars, podcast releases, short presentations, and articles that we publish. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.